here to do a labor and delivery video. It started Saturday night. I felt like I was getting my period. It was like 8 o'clock at night. And do you remember when you suggested that we go to bed and get some sleep because it's about to be...
It's about to be all hell.
But I really was skeptical. I didn't think I was in labor at all. So we went to bed. It was like midnight, I think. And then you fell asleep for a little while. And then at about 1 o'clock in the morning, I remember not being able to sleep through the contractions anymore. Because at 8 p.m., it felt like I was getting my period, so it was kind of annoying. And I wrote down in my notes that it happened every 8 to 10 minutes, and it lasted for about 45 seconds. 1 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I couldn't handle it got to the point where I would wake up every time it happened. And it was kind of sporadic. At 8 o'clock at night, it was like every 8 to 10 minutes, but it kind of died off, so I didn't believe that it was happening, because it was like in 20 minutes I would feel it, or I'd wake up in 15 minutes, and then at 1 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't take it anymore. So I just kind of laid there until 6 a.m., and that's when I was like, well, I'll go take a shower, because I was trying to figure out ways to distract myself, because they were getting...
Oh, that's right.
A little
woke
painful.
Up early as hell to take a shower. I was like, who the hell?
Yeah, so it ended up waking him up because I took a shower at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And I went back to sleep.
And he never went back to sleep. For days. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was getting dressed. I was acting like it was a regular day. Putting on my makeup. Put my hair in some pigtails. I felt kind of nauseated, so you made me a piece of toast.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you even ate.
I don't remember. I forget, man. That whole day was like a on and up. That whole day was extreme, man. Because it was non-stop. Yeah. It was like from when you woke up to take that shower, non-stop, man. I mean, yeah, you was going through it because you having the kid, but I ain't take a break at all.
He didn't.
Because I felt bad. Like, if I take a break and I'm like, let me sit down and catch my breath real quick, or you over there getting split open. I mean...
You never even sat down.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you I mean, you know you're not sitting down, and you know you're not taking a break, but it's, you much rather do that than not, because you feel like an asshole if you sit down and take a break while you're going through that. You know what I mean? But even still, like, once it started getting real, like, you just forget everything. Like, the adrenaline just starts kicking in, I guess.
Yeah.
You ain't paying attention to nothing, man. I was so hungry, I didn't even know.
I know.
I ain't eat all day, but I didn't really pay attention until after he came out. Your mom came with that steak. Shout out to the mom. She came with the steak.
My mom brought steak.
Yo, I ate that whole joint, yo, with nothing. Just killed it. What was it? Steak, potatoes.
Fruit.
Steak, potatoes, fruit, and biscuits. And oh my goodness, man. I destroyed that thing.
So let's see. You gave me toast, and we watched House that morning. We were watching episodes of House, trying to distract ourselves. And then I remember... he sat behind me on the couch, and he would rub my back when I was having a contraction, because it was pretty painful, and sometimes the touch felt like amplified, so his hand would be on my leg and I would just shake my head no, but then other times it felt good. So he did a really good job of reading me. I feel like you kind of have to know each other, because someone might get their feelings hurt if they feel like they're helping, and then I'm just like, no, but... Well, I don't think that I was rude. I think that I was direct.
Not rude. Someone else would have took it as rude. Because you'd be like, no! Like, yes! No! But, you just got to know.
It was hard to talk through them. So, you couldn't say, please stop doing that. The pain was so intense that I couldn't explain. So
you are so naive. You have no idea.
I would try to mutter out, like if the pressure of his hand was... I can
see the hate comments now.
If the pressure of his hand was too hard, I'd be like, no! And then he would do it the way it felt nice, and I'd be like, yes!
Yeah, but I mean, I understood, like, that she's at an autistic state. Because, I had sisters that had kids. My mom had like 1,000 kids. My whole family has a lot of kids, so I understand what's going on. But anybody else who's not familiar with the process would probably feel some type of way and start crying like a little girl or something.
Yeah, because I didn't use my manners. I didn't say please and thank you. That's for sure.
Word.
So we were on that couch there watching House, and he was rubbing my back and rubbing my legs and trying to make me comfortable. And it got to the point where, and I want to make a little warning for those that are triggered easily by a scary labor and delivery story that want to have a natural birth. I'm going to use the word pain, and I don't want to deter anyone that's going to try to have a natural birth. I just want to warn you, if you're watching this and you want to have a natural birth, you may not want to watch my story, because I will tell you that it was painful. But I'll explain that in detail when we get there.
Yo, man,
so
I'm sorry. I feel like you should even have to give a warning. If you don't like it, log off. Look at something else. It's on here. It's a video. It's YouTube. Grow up. Moving on. Disclaimer for what? Everybody was getting. We out of here.
It's true. There's a lot of.
I have to. Nah, son. Nah. Yo, it's nasty. People. Moving on. Yeah, like you always gotta be so, cause it's sensitive people. Hey, man, if you too sensitive, you was raised wrong. Sorry. Do it over. Moving on.
Facts.
Yeah, yo, dead ass.
Dead ass.
People always crying about something like, oh, she couldn't say that on YouTube. Say whatever the hell I want, man. What's wrong with you?
So we moved to the bathroom where he ran the bath water, and he got 2 pitchers, one to fill and one to pour.
Towels
and he was
everywhere.
Yeah, he was alternating. I was cold, but I couldn't. They tell you when you're pregnant not to take a bath for an extended amount of time because the temperature could raise your body temperature, and you don't want to get hot because you're pregnant or whatever. So I was only able to be in there for like 15 minutes, but I was so cold, and he had taken like bath towels, dipped them in the water and got them warm and wrapped them around me as he was pouring water on my stomach as I was having a contraction, which helped. It just sucked because our bathtub's really small, and with my large pregnant body, I couldn't fit very easily in there.
That was crazy.
So he
there's towels everywhere.
And the whole while, from 6 a.m. until this point, which was like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, he was timing the contractions. So because it started to get to the point where I couldn't talk, I would look at him, and he knew that meant to start the contraction timer on. I'll put that in the description.
Contract.
I'll put that in the description for anyone that wants a contraction timer, because it timed the contractions pretty well. And everything that I read said that the contractions needed to be like a minute and a half long, and mine never really got there.
Yeah, nah, not at all.
So it was like 45 seconds, 50 seconds, and if we did hit 1 minute, he was like, yeah, because we're like waiting for that in order to go. But the thing is...
It's like, I want to wait a little longer. We out of here, son. Let's go.
But the thing is, by the time he put me in the bathtub, the contractions were 1 to 2 minutes apart. But they were only 45 seconds, 50 seconds long. So I'm skeptical. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not as far dilated as I think I am. And he's getting the hospital bag ready, meanwhile pouring water on me and like coming back every minute to help me through the contraction.
It was so fun.
And he's like running around the house getting everything ready and out so I can just get dressed and get out the door. So at like 10:30 or so, I think it was, I was like, do you think we should go? And he was like, yes. I think that you were just kind of waiting for me to...
Yeah, because if you doubt if you should stay or not, go. Just leave. Just get out. Because it's better to go and get sent back home than have to wait too. Because when we got there, she was like, how did y'all take so long to get here? Like, you should have been here a long time ago. And I'm looking at her like, I told you. I was like, if you think you gotta go, just leave, man. What's the big deal? Get out of here.
I wasn't sure, though, because people were like, the contractions are gonna be so bad.
People always saying something. Stop.
It was hard for me to gauge when it was time, because you hear people talk about the intensity of the pain, but I was not at that point. It was hard to talk through the contractions, but I was still able to, and I was in good spirits in between, so I didn't feel like I was ready to go. But I finally was like, should we go? And he was like, yes. So he put me in the car, and you started driving through the parking lot, and we went through the speed bump.
Oh, yeah.
That hurt. Speed bump hurt. I didn't realize that. It hurt. But we're only like...
Her lady parts.
We're only like a mile from the hospital, or 2 miles or something.
He's waking up.
No.
He's trying to get on.
So we pull up to the hospital, and you got a spot right in the front. I don't even know if that spot was for...
I don't think it was, but I was like,
literally right in front of the doors. It didn't have any signage or anything.
Signage. I don't care. We're here.
So we parked, and he got me out of the car, and it took a couple steps to get through the parking lot because I would stop, and he would hold me because I would have to like bear down a little bit for the contraction, and then we would just keep walking.
Good times.
And we walked into the hospital. Couldn't really find it. Went up an elevator, down the hallway. We went to this area where there was a bunch of nurses behind a station. They were kind of looking at us. And I leaned over on the counter, and I was like, I don't know if I'm in the right place, but I'm in labor. And
about to have a kid was good.
Yeah, she looked really skeptical because I'm sure that people go as soon as they have any feeling of being in labor, but I had been, it was 11 o'clock in the morning.
We walked in with the kid in our arms like we're in labor.
It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and she goes, babe, stop. She was like, when did the contractions start? And I was like, 8 o'clock at night. And she was like, why did you wait so long to come in? And I was like, well, I didn't want to be turned away. And then she laughed, and she was like, we wouldn't have turned you away, but I read that you don't get a birthing room until you're 4 centimeters. I wanted to make sure I was 4 centimeters at least, because then you'll just sit in that little room, the exam room where they checked you, and you'll wait in there forever until you're...
Mad corny.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going to the hospital if I'm not going to get a room. So I waited that long. So, and then I ended up seeing a girl that I grew up with there, and her baby and all that, and she walked us to the exam room. And then the lady, I remember there was a nurse there, and she had like a trainee girl, a younger girl that was like off to the side just kind of watching things, because she kept explaining to her what was going on. And she put a gown on the bed in the little like makeshift exam room, and I think she was about to tell me to change into it, but I just started taking off my clothes right there because I didn't even care. And I put on the gown, and I heard the nurse say to the trainee girl, she's like, okay, so when they don't even wait for us to leave the room to put on the gown, they're probably actually in labor, because I didn't care at all.
Yeah, everything was out.
Yeah, so I put the gown on and laid in bed, and I was 6.5 centimeters, six and a half, she said, centimeters dilated. So they take us to the room, and she asked if I needed to pee before I sat down in bed. And I did, I peed, and when I came out of the restroom, she was setting down a bunch of like doggy pee pads. It looked like giant pads on the bed. And she's like, just in case your water breaks. So as soon as I sat down on the bed, my water broke. I looked at him, and I was like, my water broke.
Oh, that's what that's.
And it didn't feel like, a lot of people said it felt like a gush, like something just flying out of you, but it didn't. It just felt like warm. It didn't feel like you pee. It's a different feeling than pee. It's like, you're like, where is that warm feeling coming from? It's hard to explain, but you'll feel it. So then I sat up so she could change the pads again, because she had just put them down. And then they kind of left us.
I like that a lot about that place, though. They leave you alone a lot.
Yeah, we were alone for a long time. This was about 11 o'clock in the morning. I wanted my chapstick. I needed chapstick. That's the one thing that you need, because you're breathing and screaming. And
you was having contractions, and I was like, you need to breathe and focus. But after that, you need to put chapstick because your lips is mad chapped. You're looking crazy. Like, hey, I don't care if you're giving labor, yo. Nobody's safe. Don't come out here with chapped lips. That's not okay. Nah, son, you can't have ashy faces.
Prior to going in, my lips were fine. It was literally just from laboring and breathing like that my lips instantly got so chapped, so dry.
Had the ashy face.
And I brought my big water thing, and he would give me water constantly.
You read up water. Like what, 3 times? 2 times with the water?
3, I think. 3 at least.
That was crazy.
4 after he got here. I drink a lot of water. And they wanted me to pee afterwards. I guess a lot of people have trouble peeing after birth, but I had no problem peeing. They put a little cup in the toilet to make sure you peed, but I was like overflowing it. And she goes, okay, I guess you don't have any trouble peeing, because a lot of people get hooked to the IV and they don't really drink water or take in water. I was chugging the water.
Yeah.
Needed that. So he stood by the bed the entire time, and
that felt like it took forever.
Yeah, it did.
I was like, yo, just have this kid already, son, for real.
So the pain started to get really bad, and I felt...
The screaming.
I screamed at the top of my lungs. I thought I was going to be real tranquil.
Nah.
Like hypnosis, you read about hypnobirthing, like meditating. But it was so painful, and I didn't know what was going on. So finally, I didn't want to be checked. I didn't want my cervix checked. I was like, if the baby comes out, but he wasn't. So I was like, what is going on in there? And they looked, and he was OP, occiput posterior, or whatever.
That.
Which meant I had dilated to a 10 with a lip, they call it. By a little after noon, I was dilated all the way. So he would have come out if he was faced the right way. But he was not. He was faced the wrong way, so his chin wasn't tucking under my pelvic bone. Like, he couldn't come out because of the way he was hitting my pelvic bone. So they were trying to get him to turn. So I was at a 10 with the lip at a little after noon, and I labored at that... Hi, honey. I was that dilated. Papa Bear. I was that dilated for... Oh, he's hungry. Whoa.
Yo, when he cries, his face squishes into the middle of his...
Here. Say that transition, what is it? 7 to 8 centimeters to the point where you get to 10. That is the most painful part of your labor and delivery, and it was. But I was at that point for 6 hours.
Yo, that was crazy.
I was in excruciating pain.
A lot of screaming. I was like, yo, she is loud. Like, my man.
I was screaming at the top of my lungs.
I was like, so we gonna do this, huh? Alright, cool. Yo, we in here. Everybody in the block, we in here. Yo, she's screaming crazy.
And the thing is, to add to that, I had back labor because he was faced the wrong way. And I had the pain like wrapping all the way around my body in each contraction. And not only that, but in order to get him to turn the right way, they had put me in all these really painful positions.
So many people are gonna not have kids after this.
So they had me on my hands and knees, but with my upper body twisted. My upper body, like my torso, honey.
And then they have the thing with the bed, that the bed moves, so they'll move the bed a certain way. So you could be like standing on the, like with your arms on the top.
So I was having contractions in each position for about an hour each position to get him to turn. And I was feeling so defeated. And he would come around. He never even sat down. He stood at the bed so that I could...
Legs was destroyed.
What really helped me was holding his hand and pulling. And he was pulling so I could like... Can you explain it?
Yeah, like she'll hold my hand, I'll hold hers, and I'll pull back.
Yeah, so that
I mean, we wouldn't move nowhere because we're both pulling at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just that tension.
And sometimes my need for the tension would change, so I'd be like, less, more. And I was trying to mutter it as I was in excruciating pain. So I was like, more, and he would pull more because I would need to pull even harder because
the pump was crazy.
The contraction was getting really strong. And also another thing that I needed was to look him in the eye. They say that there's something that you need to focus on to help you through the contraction, to like distract you. And for me, it was his eyes. And I remember when you looked down because you were going to hand me my water. Hey, don't. You looked down because you're going to hand me my water. And I was like, give me your eyes. Because
I was like, whoa.
I needed to look him in the eye. And so I looked him dead in the eye every single contraction. I just looked him in the eye and I would scream.
No pressure, right?
Looking him dead in the eye. I would cry looking him dead in the eye. And probably the part that made me feel really sad was like toward it was like 4 o'clock or so. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I gave up on myself.
Like, nah, chill.
I gave up.
I was like, you remember all them clowns talking all that garbage on social media and the internet, like you gonna need the drugs. Nah, we ain't gonna do none of that. I was like, he coming out natural. You crazy. It's like, nah, I can't. I was like, nah, you doing this, man. I was like, I don't care what you say. It ain't happening.
But the thing is, for those that want a natural labor, yours will probably go a lot smoother than mine. Because mine lasted 6 hours longer than it should have. Because I was trying to...
Only 6 hours.
I was trying to change... We're trying to flip him over. So...
You was like...
I could have done it so easily.
Worst case scenario type shit.
Yeah. So my focus was his eyes. And probably one of the saddest things was about 4 o'clock. I was on my hands and knees. Well, kind of. The bed was at an incline, so I was resting.
It was like all the way up.
Yeah, I was resting over the top of it. I was on my knees, but I was sort of... I don't really know. But I was looking at his face, and then a nurse came in, and she was like, I know it must be hard to see someone you love in so much pain. And the look on his face, I felt so bad, because you could tell that you really felt sad for me.
She was whack.
How did you feel looking at me like that?
It's traumatizing. I don't want to see that. Like, I mean, you gotta be there, you know what I'm saying? But she's going through the worst pain in her life. And you gotta, and you're three inches away from her face.
Staring into my eyes
on, son,
at that.
You crazy.
It's not like he was just by the bed holding my hand. I was looking at him. He was face to face. I was staring him in the eyes, like
hot
screaming.
Ass breath, like the whole, nah, son. Like, I ain't trying to see that. Like, that's real, man. Then I think the most real part was when the doctor looked at you and she was like, all right, you're 10 centimeters, and he's turned around. You're going to have to push when I say push. Then she said push. And I was like, oh, shit. Shit is real. Then that, and I don't know if you noticed, but from that whole time we had contractions to when you started pushing for real, it turned dark outside. Like storm clouds and all that, because it was sunny the whole day.
It was.
And then when she gave birth, there was a big ass storm cloud on top of the cloud. I was like, no, you're done. You're finished. No.
He brought the clouds.
That joint was crazy. And then all the doctors started coming in. It was like, what, 3 doctors and all them nurses in there. And then that one guy, that sounds suspect. But he was like
he was the actual, like, OB, because I had a midwife who people don't consider a real doctor, but he was like the OBGYN guy who came in. And I guess my midwife was kind of a new midwife. She wasn't the one I had gone and seen, so she needed supervising.
The one that came in when we started pushing, she was the OG.
Yeah.
Like she knew what to do.
There was a nurse. So it starts to get really foggy for me because I lost a lot of blood. And when you lose a lot of blood, you kind of lose your mind.
Her eyes were so dilated, it was crazy.
I was really out of it.
Her pupils was like this, yo.
I remember before they told me to start pushing, because the lady was like, we're going to try 3 more contractions, or we're going to try 3 more positions for an hour each. And I was just sitting here calculating in my head, like,
we can't do that.
I have to do this for 3 more hours? I was like, I don't know if I can. And a nurse came in, her name was Trish, and she was like, I'm going to have you try something different. You're going to breathe with me. And she was like, we're climbing up a mountain. So I would watch her, and she'd say, we're climbing up a mountain. Here we go. I'm going to have you say, what did I do? He, who? And she would be like, 3 he's and 1 who. And she'd change it up to like 5 he's and 1 who. And she would look at my face and try to see if I was at the top of my contraction, like the hardest part. And so she would coach me, and I would say, he. And sometimes the he's were turning into screams because they were really bad. Really painful, yeah. And then she would be like, look, we're at the top, it's just gonna get easier. And she would talk me all the way back down. We did that several times.
That was so real. That was crazy.
She was an amazing nurse to help talk me through that, because I didn't know, at that point I had completely given up, and I didn't think that I could do it. So she talked me through a few more, and I, honest to goodness, do not remember changing positions to push. And I labored on my back. I didn't want to. This is where my birth plan became a little unplanned, which I planned for the unplanned, right? I wanted to stand or be upright or be on all fours, because being on your back isn't exactly the most conducive to the falling of a baby from your vagina.
Birth.
But I had lost so much blood at this point. I was weak, and I could barely hold myself up because I had been laboring at 10 centimeters for 6 hours. So I don't remember transitioning onto my back to push. I remember all of a sudden the room was dark, and the nurse that was talking me up the mountain, and I remember her being like looking at my face, and when she thought I was at the top of my contraction, but I would scream even harder than the next one, I remember the nurse looking at the midwife and being like, we need to check her, because at that point I wasn't pushing. They still thought he was the opposite way, but I guess he had started to come down the birth canal. So when Trish was like, we need to check her because of my reactions, they checked me and they're like, oh, so that's, I guess, when they decided to turn me over, which I don't remember. But I remember the room being dark, and I remember Trish was on this side and she was holding my leg, and you were on my other leg. I don't even know how you were holding my leg.
I had
because I remember being able to pull on you.
Yeah, because you had your leg like over my arm. Then with that same hand, I'll pull your leg towards your arm as I pull your arm. So I'm putting them both together. Oh. So your leg goes over here, and then I'll hold it on the bed like that.
I just remember having my hands on my husband and the nurse, and I was able to like pull really hard. And you had been pulling on me all day.
Yo. I mean, she was giving birth, labor. That's cool.
Your husband should be fit.
But yo, I was tired, son. I was like, it's not even like you're doing excessive work, but just doing the same small movement the entire day. Well, what, 1/2 of a meal and just water? It was crazy, man. But once once he started pushing, and you see the kids start coming out, like he had a lot of hair when he was born, so first I saw the hair, like
the same amount of hair as he has now, I think.
Yeah, like he had a lot of hair coming out. Then once you saw the hair, like all that shit is out the window. Like you awake and you like, yo, that ass, I seen his head. You need to push and stop playing.
He
like
did.
For
I
real,
remember
you
him
need to
telling me
start pushing.
He's like, I see him, and I was just, because I felt like it had been so long and I was so tired, and I did purple pushing, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to just labor through my contractions and breathe him out, but because of my blood loss, I wasn't on an IV. When I first checked in, they wanted to put that, they wanted to put that, I forget what it's called now, the contraction belt to test your contractions. Yeah, and I didn't want that. They tried in the beginning a couple times to put it on me, but I was just like, no, I didn't want that. I didn't want the IV. I didn't want to be hooked to anything.
And we ain't, like, all the stuff that we didn't want to do, that's just us. A lot of people are going to feel some type of way because we decide not to use it, whatever. And that's our choice, whatever. He's fine. He's big as hell. We good. If you chose to, go through your experience with all the help in the world, ain't nobody judging you, and nobody should be judging anybody. That's your choice.
Right.
But we just decide not to deal with all that extra.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just freedom of choice. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody always has a way. Like, you shouldn't have done nothing. As long as hey man, when the caveman was here and they was having kids, they ain't had none of that. He's here, he's just fine. So that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks.
Yeah, it's true. People are like, you should have done nothing. Just make sure the kid gets here. I don't care if he gets here in a cab or a train or a plane. Just make sure he gets here just fine.
However you do it is the best way.
Right.
But I didn't want to be attached to anything. And I remember they put the IV in me. They did what they call somebody help me out, when they what is it called? I completely forget the word. Where
someone's watching the video right now and they're saying the word.
I know.
And we can't hear them. And they're
where they put the needle in your hands, but you're not attached to the machine. It's called starts with an S, I think. I forget. Anyway, they insisted on putting that in me because I started losing blood. When I started bleeding? A long time.
Right after your water broke, you started leaking. You was bleeding the whole day.
I was bleeding a lot. And I didn't know. I had no idea. But I remember her kind of insisting that they get a needle in me, just in case I need a blood transfusion at the end of things. And they put the needle in my hand, and when I had leaned on the bed, my hand, you bend your hand back, I had popped the needle out. It had it was
like 3 times.
Yeah, they put it in my arm, they put it in my hand, my arm, my arm, my arm, my hand, my arm again.
Yo, that one lady was so bad. Yeah. She was just shanking her up.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, can we get somebody in here who then your mans came in.
The actual anesthesiologist came in. It took him
shot.
3 seconds, needle in. He was like, is this all you wanted? And then he left. And the nurse that had butchered me was like, feeling some type of way.
He took a microphone out, he dropped it, and he left.
But it was hard to put the needle in me because I was starting to swell. I was really swollen.
Yeah, she don't really show veins.
I didn't have Preeclampsia. I didn't have that.
Preeclampsia.
But my whole body was swelling, so that to even find a vein was really hard to do. So anyway, I didn't have any of that as I was laboring. So I remember being on my back, and I started to purple push, which I didn't want to do, because I needed to get him out as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would have had to do a C-section, use forceps, use a vacuum, because of the amount of people have had vacuum children. You can't make fun of their heads.
Chill.
And their heads, vacuum children heads, they come out.
Hey, you
just
know what,
fine.
man? When he came out, his head was shaped funny, and I was laughing
He was.
in the room in front of the doctors. And they was like, "Don't laugh at that." I was like, "Nah, his head look funny, son. Yo, nobody's safe. If
Even
your head
if
look
you-
funny, you getting laughed at."
Even if you
That's
don't
it.
use forceps or vacuum, the skull is in, I think, 3 different pieces.
He looked like the alien from
So
Futurama.
a baby's head will squish to fit through your vaginal the birth canal. His head will form, but within an hour, their head goes back to
Yo,
a
his
normal
head was
round.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like scooped.
I was like, "Yo, I got an alien, son. They're like an alien."
Stop. So anyway, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. I was on my back reluctantly, but I needed to get him out as fast as possible before they intervened, because I needed a blood transfusion. They were looking at ways to get him out, because
They had everything ready.
I was dying, basically. I was losing my memory. It's very spotty. I remember the super important parts, like your face and him coming out. But I just remember being a little confused. I had the nurse on this side, you're on that side, and I looked at the sprinkler, the
fire sprinkler?
Yeah, up on the ceiling. I just kept looking at that. And Trish would be like, when you feel a contraction, take a breath for you and baby and let it out. And then take a breath in and squeeze and push, which I didn't want to do, but I did. So I didn't want them to tell me when to push, but I listened to them, because at that point, everything that I had researched.
It was good, though. They was good.
Right, I trusted them. At that point, I was like, I need to do what they're telling me, because I'm losing a lot of blood here.
Honestly, though, like this hospital here is, I haven't been at every hospital, obviously, but the experience you get here is a lot different
amazing.
from other places. Like, other places is more like a slaughterhouse, in and out. You know what I'm saying? Just get the baby out and move on. But this is actually what they do. You know what I mean? Like,
it was a really nice place.
Yeah, they care. I mean, it was cool.
It was really nice. So I had been pushing. I was really tired. I was exhausted. Not only physically exhausted from contractions all day, but when you lose that much blood, you don't have energy to keep going. So I would push, and I felt like he was never going to show up. So I would voice I was just
anguish.
like, yes, I was like, I'm so tired. And she would tell me, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then she wanted to put a mirror at my feet.
Who does that?
Some
I was
people
like,
do.
what is y'all doing? She didn't want to see that.
And
That's
I couldn't,
disgusting.
first of all, I couldn't even see it because they had it angled all crazy.
And it wasn't
then
even
my
glass.
belly
It
was
was
in the
like
way.
plastic or something. That mirror was fugazi. Like,
But she thought that seeing his head emerge would give me the fire I needed to keep pushing. But that didn't work at all, because my eyes were closed and I could barely see, because everything was kind of spinning and a little foggy, because I was bleeding out. But when I saw his face, I was watching his face look down, and when he said, what did you say? He's here, or I can see his head, or...
But you could see his head for a while, because he was pushing, and his head would be there. They don't just go back in, like, once you were relaxed. And like, yo, his head is right there.
Yeah,
so,
when he was telling
I
me that
can
it
see
was...
the hair.
Yeah, when he told me that, I was just like, oh, so he's really coming now? Because I just felt like, I'm never going to have this baby.
This kid is here, like, right now.
Yeah, I felt like I would never see him. I would never meet him. I was just going to be at that point of exhaustion forever. Like, I had just completely... I was out of it.
I was like, yo, stop playing.
So,
Push this kid out.
So she would have me push during my contraction, one big hard one, but I was so tired, I could barely do that. So she had changed to, whether I was having a contraction or not, to do little pushes to keep him out. Because I would have a contraction, push him out, and then he would go back in.
She would just lose all that progress. I'm like, yo, son,
yeah,
stop
but
playing.
I was too tired to push that hard.
But that worked, though. The little ones worked.
So she said to do just a bunch of little ones to keep him there. And I was able to pace myself and do a bunch of little ones to actually inch him out, I think.
Yeah, and he came out. So once after his head came out, then it was a lot smoother. But that, I mean, he got the dome on him. Like his head is ridiculous.
His head right now is in the 99th percentile as far as growth.
Like a cantaloupe.
He's 2 months old and his head was 41.5 centimeters.
He got a big ass head.
Yeah, but I remember her telling me that she's like, you're about to feel the ring of fire. Would she say it's gonna hurt like hell or something?
Yeah, something like that.
She looked at me and she was like, you're gonna have to push. It's gonna hurt like hell, but you're gonna have to push. And I did. And it burned. It felt like they say, a ring of fire. It felt, but I'm telling you that was nothing compared to the pain of the contractions. I will push a baby out of my vagina all day long. That was the most pain I had ever experienced in my entire life. Those contractions were the worst. And I don't know if it was because he was OP, because I was having back labor, because it had been so many hours consecutively that I had been going through this, but the contractions were 8,000 times worse than the pain of pushing him out, because it just felt hot.
After she pushed out through the ring of fire, she took a mic and dropped it.
His head came out, and then I remember her saying
then it was a lot easier.
The shoulders would come out easier.
Yeah. Like the rest of the body just flowed after that. Because when he came out, like he had the thing with his neck.
He had nuchal.
And they did like some flip real quick. I was like, oh, like, they just flipped real quick and took it out.
The cord was wrapped around his neck 3 times. But I think that's from him turning and coming down that he twisted the cord all around his neck. So I didn't even know how that went. His head came out and the cord was...
The cord was on his neck when he came out, and they did something like kind of like flipped him.
Somersault?
And just to get the cord off of him. But then the rest of him came out just smooth, you know what I'm saying?
So they took the cord off when they saw his...
Yeah, like his body wasn't even out.
Oh.
Like he was still not even completely out. You know what I mean?
So they took the cord off his neck and then his shoulders came out. And then I remember he wasn't crying, and I remember asking, why isn't he crying?
Yeah, she was spazzing out. I was like, chill, son, he's good. He gonna cry.
And the look on your face, I cried when I saw the look on his face.
I was like...
How did you feel when you first saw him?
Yo, it changes everything. You forget how long you were standing there. You forget you was hungry. You forget about all the petty, like everything, like all like you like we came home. Not even when we came home, like when you know everything settled down, doctors was gone, and they left us with the kid, man. Yo, nothing matters. I mean, it still feels like that. Like nothing matters. Like I mean, and it blows my mind because people are so caught up on all this petty bullshit, like presidency and this and that, and I don't know what is it, social justice warriors and social media. Who cares, yo? Like none of that matters, man. Like I was like after he had got there, and I instantly felt like that. Like it was all in an instant. You know what I'm saying? Like in an instant. All the single mothers out there, yo, props. Cause when your man's is up at 3 a.m. screaming like he lit on fire, that's crazy. He don't know how to act. That's crazy. And I know girls who got nobody to do it on themselves, props.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then you also got single moms who use them as collateral. No, like that's messed up, man. That's because that's a person too. You know what I'm saying? That's messed up. But.
So then he was down there and they were getting him to breathe or whatever. And then they put him up on my chest, and they did. I remember them saying, "Dad, you want to cut the cord?" And I was like, "Is it done pulsing?" Because I had no concept of how much time had gone by, and I wanted them to do delayed cord cutting, and I guess it had been quite a long time. And she
cord shriveled up.
She was like, "Oh yeah, it's time." So you cut the cord.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was like you would think it's like snip. That's disgusting. It's like you cutting intestines because it wouldn't cut. And I was like, what the hell? Then she had to like, oh, hold on. And she had to like hold it tight and give it tension. And I'm cutting it. Oh, man, that's just nasty. But yeah, we did it. I mean, I'm sorry. I like to keep things 100. You know what I mean? Like people want to give it this glorious. Yeah, it's beautiful, whatever. You're having a kid. A lot of nasty shit happens. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It doesn't take away from, you know, it being what it is. You know what I'm saying? It was amazing seeing life happen.
They laid him up on my chest after they cut the cord, and he stayed there for like an hour, and he latched right away, instantly. He latched really well. And you said his eyes were open the minute he came out?
Yo, he came out, he was like I was like, yo, why his eyes open?
Super alert.
Suspect.
Came out super alert. Super wide-eyed.
Like that.
And he latched right away, and the rest is history.
Word. Now he don't know how to act.
He does. That was just that 1 week.
Yo, son.
The first mental leap. I encourage you guys to get the Wonder Weeks app. Everyone will tell you your baby has colic. Everyone will tell you that if you're breastfeeding, to change your diet. Everyone will tell you everything, because your baby's going to act out in about 4 weeks from the due date. The due date, not the birth date. So get the Wonder Weeks app and look at when he's going through these growth spurts. The first leap by far, I'm going to do a series of the leaps so that you guys know. But that first, it's when he's about 4.5, 5 weeks old, but he went through it early. He's gone through each one of his leaps about 3 days early. That was the hardest week with him.
Yo, your man was a savage.
When he was 4.5 weeks old.
I was like, why he's screaming like he got no sense?
That's the first time I'd ever heard him cry like that. And when you can't do anything to fix it, it just breaks your heart. And I remember standing in the kitchen. You put him in a kitchen pot, the biggest pot we had, to like simulate a womb or the comfort. Filled it up with warm water. The bath calmed him down. Running water. I remember one time standing in the kitchen. We didn't know what was going on. And you turned on the faucet, and then he instantly stopped. Oh, yeah. And we looked at each other, and we were like, what the hell was that?
Then we turned it off, he started spazzing out.
Yeah.
We turned it off, he stopped.
Yeah.
Like, how about that? And I was like, I know they got an app for that. So I looked up water sounds app, and we found this one app, and we use it all the time. We just turn that on.
Yeah, white noise, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Baby.
Something. Whatever, it's in there.
He falls asleep, though, to the live running water. I know that's terrible for the earth. I know.
Man, yo, listen, this earth been done.
It's called
We ain't
Baby?
fixing nothing. Yeah, it's just called Baby. Like, oh,
white noise baby.
We ain't fixing it. This earth done. We be running water like ain't nobody's business.
To get him to fall asleep. Yeah. But that's another story. That's not labor and delivery. You got your hands up? You got your hands up, Papa? Oh. You stretching? Check out my shirt. I'll link the Etsy store that I got my shirt from below. I think it's called Pride and Perk. I'm Mom as... Ow.
Ooh, sneezing.
Hi, baby. Hi, Papa. Somebody on YouTube asked why... Did he touch the lens?
He banged his head on the thing.
Somebody on YouTube asked why I call him Papa. I don't know. I call him 1,000 things.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I've been calling him Papa since he was born.
Ew.
Oh, he's slobbing. I just washed his shirt. You, how dare you? Can't have no black clothes in this house.
But I call him all kinds of things.
Yeah,
I
she
call
called
him Bear.
A sugar bear? What was it?
I call him Sunshine Pie.
It's not,
I call him a hungry tomato.
Adds
a cheeky banana.
Everything that's sweet and cuddly, she puts it all together. I'm ready. I still gotta put my boots on.
Okay. Hey, Papa. He's not in frame. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about the labor and delivery, I feel like I'm forgetting a ton of things, but...
Probably, but... And if you got offended, put some Vicks on it.
It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, and I feel like if you get to the point where you feel like you're gonna give up, that's the hump that you need to get over. And as long as you've got someone there to support you and talk you through that feeling of defeat, you'll make it. Because I made it. No. And I didn't even know at the time that I needed a blood transfusion. It was several hours into the night. I was like, can I get this thing out of my arm? But they had to test my hemoglobin levels in the morning.
Hemoglobin.
I stayed for 2 days. I wasn't allowed to leave. But the lady was like...
Yo, that room was off the chain, though.
Yeah.
The room was lit.
It was a nice room.
Yeah, the cable TV. That's it.
But when I saw her face, when she came up to me and told me about this blood transfusion, I remember in that moment in the delivery room... He wasn't delivered yet. I remember her face asking me if I will accept a blood transfusion. And I remember my response to her was, I'm O negative. That's what I said to her. I don't remember saying yes. I don't remember saying no. But I remember saying I'm O
English
negative.
much? Right, Papa?
Well, you're so out of it because I
English
lost so much
much?
blood. I couldn't even answer her question. But I just knew that if you're O negative, the only kind of blood you can get is O negative because you'll die with any other kind of blood. You can't.
She was like, just in case y'all be randomly giving blood
Yeah,
out.
I was like, I'm O negative. Like I needed them to know that. But O negative blood can go to anybody. I can give every single one of you my O negative blood.
There's people in the camera.
I can give him my O negative blood.
I don't want this.
But I cannot accept anything but O negative. So if you're A, B, A positive, whatever.
Oh,
But
I was 4:30.
but that's what I
food. I'm so hungry.
Okay.
I'm starving.
So anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Say bye.
Word.
Bye.